Today, I wanted to talk about our personal pain and trauma. So, we all have personal pain, right? We all have our own unique struggles, our own traumas to overcome, our own grief. We absolutely do. And the core of that, the deepest, deepest place, is typically a feeling of unworthiness or not enoughness. And out of this feeling of unworthiness and not enoughness stems things like toxic shame. So, this feeling of badness, of wrongness, that there is something inherently wrong with us that needs to be fixed. And when we feel that way, it can feel like everyone around us hates us, doesn't want us around, will reject us. It can feel like nothing in our lives is working because everything, as I've mentioned in previous videos, in our lives stems from our relationship with ourselves. So if we feel like we're not enough in a really deep way, then we automatically will perceive that other people think we're not enough, that other people don't want us, that other people are rejecting us, when in reality, in a way, we are rejecting ourselves. And again, this is on a deep, deep core fundamental level, but is the rejection of the self. That is what is important here, not the rejection or perceived rejection of other people. So we all have, again, a range of emotions and pain, untended grief, unhealed trauma, situations in our lives with other people that we have not dealt with yet or that we struggle to manage and heal and even come to terms with. And it can feel like that it is our personal pain. And it certainly is, but it is this feeling of aloneness in our pain, of this is my personal pain of not enoughness. This is my unworthiness, that I myself am sort of rotten to the core. That's what toxic shame says, is that I'm rotten in this way. I'm inherently bad, and because I'm inherently bad, I need fixing. I need to be healed or fixed in some way or even completely changed because who I am is completely unacceptable. Now, this feeling is extremely painful, and I do feel that it is the root of human experience. Like we all carry this to some degree, this wound of unworthiness. It's just a matter of degree, right? So some of us carry it in a really, really heavy way. We feel it very deeply, very acutely, and other people might not really feel it too much, but it is really part of the human condition to some degree. Now, again, I'm talking a lot about our personal pain because it feels like we're isolated in it and it's just us, and that everyone around us has it all figured out and they don't struggle in the same way, and that it's just us. And again, what's wrong with me that I have this pain? So, what happens with that? There's a lot of isolation that happens, right? And this sense of I'm alone in this, that it's just me struggling this way. And other people won't understand because I'm broken or I'm unacceptable, I'm unworthy or bad. And so I have to kind of pull myself away from other humans, from life, from living in society, even depending to some degree, because people won't want me around. Right. And so I have to withdraw myself because whenever I go out in the world, I sense or feel on a particular level that other people don't approve of me, don't want me around, they're rejecting me, and they don't appreciate me, love me, accept me, etc. And so I will perceive that through the lens of my own consciousness, through the lens of my own belief system about myself. So it has nothing to do with the other person and how they actually feel or perceive us. It is through the lens, everything is through the lens of how we perceive ourselves. And so if I carry this belief system that I am unworthy, it's sort of like having glasses on that have an unworthiness film over them or a shame film over them. So when I have those glasses on, everything I perceive is seen through that lens of not enoughness, of me, not my personal not enoughness, right? Of people aren't going to like me, people aren't going to want me around. I am bad, I need fixing, right? And so, what we need to do is take the lenses off completely or clean the lenses of perception. So, how do we do that? So, first, I want to stress, and this is really, really important, that again, this is wounding that we all carry on some level. Again, it's not as acute for some folks, especially those who did not grow up in trauma, who were had loving, supportive parents or caregivers as children. You probably don't have this in such an acute way, but we all carry it on some level. And this feeling of separateness, of different, that we are different, separate, not connected to other people, and that maybe even we feel like there's like we're weirdos or like nobody else is quite like us. And not in a, oh, I'm so special way, but in a like, again, kind of rotten way, like, people aren't going to want me, or I'm not like other people. I don't fit in with other people. And so this is really, really painful. And of course, all of our pain is painful, all of our untended grief, all of our unhealed trauma. And our society does not really allow space for grief. It doesn't really allow space for mental and emotional health issues and struggles. There is a lot of pathology around this, right? We see it in the mental health fields that, oh, just go take a pill for your anxiety, go take a pill for your depression, go do this or that, these therapies. And I'm not knocking therapy or medication. Sometimes we need those things, but there is a deeper cause and deeper ways of healing that are more permanent, whereas medication and some of these other treatments are just covering symptoms. And so our society, there's not a lot of space for this. If we were grieving, people want us to get over it really quickly. They don't want to hear it because it seems quote unquote negative. Oh, just look at the bright side. Oh, just move on. Why are you still struggling? We might hear these kinds of things. And if we have ongoing things like complex trauma or other, again, mental or emotional health issues, then there is a huge stigma in our society around that. There is a lot of judgment. People are treated really harshly, really impatiently, and not with a lot of care. And I think, again, part of that is because our society is so geared toward positivity, happiness, and looking at the bright side and that kind of thing, that anything that doesn't match that is sort of pushed away, right? Pushed away into the collective shadow. Now, this makes the problem worse, of course, because it makes people who struggle with these things go even deeper into isolation, and we get sicker in isolation, right? We do not heal in isolation, we heal in connection. And we heal in connection with community, we heal in connection with others who are like us and others who understand us and accept us for who we are. That is how we heal, right? Don't heal by ourselves. So, all of these things that I'm talking about, and a lot more, but these things I'm talking about are part of a bigger problem, of a bigger, more systemic problem in our culture, and especially in the West. So I can't speak for other parts of the world, but in the West, there is this hyper individualization, right? Where we live isolated in our homes, away from our families, separated from friends and support. There is not a lot of communal experience or community experience. Like in other parts of the world, particularly in indigenous cultures, there is tribal living, right? Where people grow up in the tribe is there. You continue to live with the tribe members, right? You have family around you all the time throughout your life to support you throughout. all the good times, all the bad times, all the in between times, right? And feel this sense of acceptance, this sense of belonging, this sense of being understood, wanted, cared for, and appreciated. And I heard an interesting thing the other day about some of these other cultures, and even those, if we trace back far enough, our own lineage, where we would be born into some of these other places in time. And as we were born into these places, it would be known as we were born and started to express ourselves what our unique soul's medicine and soul purpose was in that lifetime. And our name that we were given was actually indicative of our gifts. And so every time somebody spoke our name, we were reminded of the gifts that we bring to those around us. So that's wildly different from our culture, where we're just given a name and perhaps there's significance, but where we don't live in community like that, where we have to figure out what our purpose is. And then we have to convince other people that we are worthy of living that purpose, right? And that, if we're self-employed, that our work, our medicine is worthy, right? And so it's so different. And the core thing here is the separation, this hyper individualism, right? This independence of I can do it myself. If you're strong, you can make it through on your own. You know, and I'm doing this right now. Power through. You got it. Be strong on your own. And there's a lot of us against them, right? We see this in the media all the time, in the news all the time. We see this on every level, right? Politically, we see it in wars, we see it in communities, and we see it between us and our friends, our intimates, our family members, and we see it these kinds of division and fighting within ourselves. So there is not only a lack of connection and cohesion and support, but there is divisiveness and fighting. And so we are isolated. So again, this is about a much bigger problem, a much bigger cultural problem where we are separated out from tradition, from the medicine of our ancestors, from having our family, again, close family. And if you have that, that is awesome. I'm happy for you, but most of us do not. Having close elders with us that we can learn from, grow from, that can mentor us and support us as we are coming up in the world. We are separated from the teachings of our lineage typically, and in our communities we are separated from each other. Again, there's all this pitting against, and or at minimum at least a lack of support. And so this this is the deeper pain of alienation. This is the deeper pain of not enoughness. It is actually collective pain. It's not just our personal pain. Because when we look around and we feel like we don't belong, like we're not a part of something bigger, like we don't know who we are, and we don't have loving community around us, supporting us, cheering us on, um, then we feel like, what is wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. But what is really wrong here is the system that we live in. It's not you, and it's not me, and it's not individual pain. There is something deeply wrong with the system. The system that we live in is broken. The system that we live in sort of preaches to us that we are unworthy and not enough. Now, not directly, but it teaches us out the gate that God is separate from us and that we have to work and strive to please that God so that we are not punished eternally. We are taught in school that we have to think a certain way, act a certain way, and that your brain has to fit into this little box. So your way of thinking, your way of engaging with the world and doing things has to fit in this little box, or you get punished through bad grades, right? So if you want to succeed in life, you have to do things a certain way, right? Live by these rules, do things this way. And if you think outside the box, if these things don't work for you and you have your own beliefs and your own ways of doing things, you are a creative person, you are a more open minded person, these things probably don't work very well for you. And we are taught that we have to fit the mold, right? So you grow up, you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you have the baby, you buy the house, you buy the car, you pursue material wealth, material gain. And that is what we are taught will lead to fulfillment, right? But it's not at all. That's like the great lie of our consumer driven capitalist society is that it's all about money, it's all about achievement, it's all about gain, it's all about materialism. Meanwhile, what is happening to the planet? This capitalist, separatist way of thinking leads to the destruction of our planet, of our natural resources, of animals, of nations, of people, of children, of the world in general. And we are, on some level, acutely aware of this all the time, of this greater pain, of the pain of the earth, of the pain of the humans and animals and parts of nature that are suffering and in pain. And we're acutely aware of our own pain. So it is not just our personal pain, it is the pain on all of these different levels. Now, why is this? Because the earth is our mother. We all live on this same planet, and the planet is a living, breathing being. It appears that we are separate from Mother Earth, but we are not. Our bodies are made up of the same elements that went into the creation of Mother Earth that went into the creation of all of Mother Nature, right? So we are not separate from her. We are part of the body of the earth, as is every other living being. So when she hurts, we hurt. When other living beings, whether they're in our sphere or halfway across the world, we feel it. Maybe you've heard about the butterfly effect. So it's when something happens on one side of the planet, there are reverberating effects that touch everything on the other side of the planet. It's sort of like waves in the ocean, right? If there's a wave, it affects the whole. It isn't separate. We are not separate from the earth. So the pain that you feel is not just your personal pain. It's not your personal pathology. And I say all of this because it's such an important point. It's so easy to turn on ourselves and say, what is wrong with me? Why can I not get it? I've been doing all of this healing work. I've been doing everything I know to do, and I am still struggling in these ways every day. What is wrong with me? And it's not just you and your pain. It's really hard to get healthy and move beyond this kind of pain while our earth is literally burning, while people around us are suffering and starving and fighting and all of the things that are happening, right? How do you get better when you are interconnected with everything on this planet and we're not all better? And so it's making me think right now of the path of the Bodhisattva, which is the Buddhist beings who have agreed to reincarnate over and over again until the suffering of all beings is relieved, until all beings are free of suffering. Because the understanding is that we are not separate, that truly, until we are all liberated, we all still suffer. So that is why, my friends, I just wanted to tell you it is not just you. There is not something deeply, deeply wrong with you. Your responses of anxiety, depression, nervous system dysregulation, chronically having trouble managing your emotions in your relationships is not just you. It is a symptom of a deeper deeper problem. And it is the symptom of, again, this soul sickness that is happening on our planet collectively. So it's what we call collective trauma. And so, as a deeply feeling person in a challenging world, you are aware of that on some level all the time. Whether you're consciously, you don't have to listen to the news to be connected to it. You don't have to read the paper. I don't know if people read the paper anymore. You don't have to be plugged into it because we're always plugged into it. You're going to feel it in your body. So you are not alone. We are all in this together. We all struggle in these ways, again, to different degrees. And so, what is the solution, right? It might feel as I'm saying this like, whoa, it's a bigger problem. How can I do anything about that? I feel like it's really important to understand that it is not just you, that there is not something broken in you, that the pain you are feeling is an absolutely normal and acceptable and understandable response to an unacceptable situation, to a really challenging, really painful situation. Your response is normal. You are normal. It's not you, it's the situation we live in. It's kind of like I'm thinking of the analogy of a fish in a bowl of water that is really, really, really dirty and has a lot of chemicals in it that are poisoning the fish. It's not the fish's fault, right? That the fish is sick. It's the water that the fish is swimming in. So this is that same kind of thing. And so what we can do is to start to recognize this, to start to open our eyes and look around at what's happening in the world. And I know for a lot of people, this makes us feel helpless, hopeless. It can lead to deeper despair sometimes. But as I'm saying, we're not escaping it by not looking at it. We are hyper aware of this all the time. And as we look, as we open our eyes, immense grief wells up, and it is through our grieving process for ourselves, for our brothers and sisters, and for our planet that we heal through facing our pain, through facing our grief, and alchemizing our grief through deeply feeling it and coming home to our bodies. I talked last week about somatic embodiment. As we come home to our bodies, these are truly the only places where we can feel safe and feel okay and feel connected. It has to start here in our bodies. So, I will be talking more about grief and more about the work that we do to unwind from some of these things. Most of my offerings going forward are about this medicine, about this work of bringing healing to ourselves, bringing healing to others in our communities and families, and to the world at large and to the planet, because this is such an important time we're living in. We can really see clearly now everything is being uncovered, what with the internet, social media. We can just see very clearly the problems that have been around for a very, very, very long time. And as we band together and become willing to do this grief work and do this work of embodiment and really living, we become more connected to joy. We become more connected to compassion. We become more connected to the earth herself and to one another. So this is the reconnection, really, that those connections that we have lost. We come back home through these portals. So I will keep you posted on our offerings for right now. We have become your own healer group mentorship that is online, and I do offer individual mentorships and sessions. I have that information posted below. So if you are interested, please do check that out. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please do like it and subscribe. We do release new videos once a week. And I hope you have a blessed day, and I will see you soon.